Good morning. It's 5:30 in the afternoon. How are you today? We're here with the famous modern day investing.
I'm doing great. Thanks for the introduction.
No problem. We had some. This is what I've been trying to do more of. Is this kind of like I have some interactions with people on the Twitters on the financial X over there, and then it's like obviously if it's like an in-depth topic, it's hard to get the whole story over tweeting to each other. So I've been trying to do more of just like jump on calls with kind of smart people who I'm interested in what they're doing, and kind of just figure it out from there.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, sometimes I even have to switch to my laptop just to type it out because sitting on the phone just takes so long sometimes.
I am glad that with premium you or with the whatever the paying for Twitter, you can get the your 140 character cap up. That's pretty good.
Yeah, 140 characters is it's hard to do.
Definitely, especially because like when I how I used to use Twitter versus like how I use it now. Like now I actually try to put more effort into the content and whatnot. So it's like it's not a lot
Yeah,
of. I'm not on like my businesses are all on Twitter and they don't pay because it's like I don't find value in it for them. So like if I have to like make posts and I just copy paste like the Instagram caption, I have to do like 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5, 3 out of 5 to like do the same caption that I would do on a
yeah,
different platform. But yeah, so the thing that we were talking about on Twitter that I kind of wanted to dive more into, just because I'm genuinely curious myself. So you relatively recently started a little ATM side hustle. No, is ATMs or vending machines?
ATMs.
ATMs. Okay, 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 okay. And how long ago was this?
I think I formed my LLC 5 months ago.
Okay.
So it's been in the works for obviously, I did quite a bit of research behind it before I actually initially went ahead with it, but it's relatively a new idea for me at least.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, I don't think it.
It's been,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm not inventing the wheel here.
Hey, neither am I. I own a couple of them businesses that I own are over 100 years old, so I'm not reinventing the wheel either. I think that's very few people can kind of invent something new and make it successful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So 5 months ago, you started doing research. I don't know when because it feels like it wasn't that long ago that we talked about it for the first time.
Yeah, I don't know the exact timeline. I can kind of just give you kind of where the idea sparked and go from there.
Yeah, yeah, please.
Um, I work full time. I'm a scientist at a pharmaceutical company. I work in a lab, and honestly, I don't get a ton of social interaction, and it drives me crazy sometimes. I mean, I have a lot of friends and stuff like that, but I there's a dive bar pretty close to me, and I just go there, watch some games, whatever. And I'm sitting there, and I got offered a job, so I'm quote unquote a regular. So I've been bartending and doing security a little bit just on the weekends, maybe a shift every once in a while. And anyway, so once I've been working there, we have pool tables that need cash. And as a business, we don't give cash back unless, if you come with me with a 20 and say, hey, can you break this down? Because it takes $2 to play pool, I can do that. But they don't put cash on the tab or anything like that. Every shift, I have multiple people coming up to me saying, can I get cash back my tab? Do you have an ATM? They can't play pool because the majority of people these days don't keep cash on them.
Yeah.
So I kind of got to the point where I was like, I'm having multiple people every time I'm here, and I'm not here that often. So I can only imagine how many people are doing this weekly. So it kind of just sparked the idea of, I kind of want to look into, I didn't know anything about an ATM. All I knew is that it charges you a small fee. So it kind of just from there is when I looked into it, and I kind of started to notice when I went to restaurants, bars, barbershops, the places that actually have ATMs. And if you're actually looking for something, you see it a lot more often. It's kind of like when you're looking for a red car, you see a red car all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
like I started to notice, I was like, there's a lot of ATMs out here.
Okay. So I searched on Twitter here. The first day that me and you talked about this was March 15th, just over not quite 2 months ago.
Okay.
Um, and you had said, "Does anyone have any experience owning slash operating an ATM machine in a business? Would love some insight." Um, and then I said I looked into it. I didn't seem worth it to me. So I'll give you like my experience. Um, I guess probably during COVID, I had just the one business at the time, and that went from like whatever it was 100 hours a week of my time to like 40 hours a week of my time because like my bar got forcibly closed by restrictions and like the events that we were going, the samplings, the whatever, just the liquor industry, the entertainment industry kind of shut down for a while there. So I was like bored at home, and I was also getting um, government money. They were giving us like $2,000 a month to stay home. So I had like extra money and I was bored. So I started looking into like side hustles. And whenever you're like, I'm sure anyone listening, if you've gone down the like YouTube rabbit hole of like business guru side hustles, it's always like, you can make $5,000 a day passively by doing this. And it's always like, a bunch of BS. But I kind of thought it was interesting because I thought about the idea maybe 6 or 7 years ago the first time because I do a lot of farmers markets for one of my businesses, and a lot of vendors, not so much anymore, but a lot of the vendors at the farmers markets would be cash only, and there would be no ATM or anything because you're outside at a farmers market. So a couple markets ended up buying ATMs to like for people to use, and they were like making decent revenue like on site. So I'm like, what if I bought an ATM and like just brought it around with me in the van to like different markets or whatever? And then like I did the math on that, and I'm like, okay, this thing is very heavy and needs a power source and all this. So I don't want to like that idea kind of went away. But then
Mm.
again, during COVID, I kind of looked into it, and my main concerns when I looked into it were I kind of made a mental list of like the top, maybe 20 places that I think would make good revenue from an ATM, and like all of them already had it where I am. I was also concerned about I'm not particularly handy, so like any of the maintenance or anything if it goes down, I was concerned about that. And then the other thing was like just people. I think ATMs specifically are on a downtrend because, like you said, people have less and less cash. Because like how much harder would it like? Why not just have the pool machine take debit cards? You know what I mean? Like if you should be able to tap on the pool machine instead of putting in
Oh yeah,
cash.
I understand.
So that might be so those were like the three main things in my head where I'm like the amount of effort that I would have to do to find a good location um wasn't going to be worth the return. And that was kind of like I looked
Yeah.
into ATMs and vending machines at the same time, and then I kind of just reached a conclusion that it wasn't for me. But I'd be very interested in hearing because what you're saying in your story is you put your first ATM in the bar that you kind of had a connection with, so you already knew it like would like work there.
Yeah, so I mean, you made great points, and that's kind of what's kept me from doing it. I mean, I've been considering this for a while, and I've done a lot of research, and but you're absolutely right. I mean, we're becoming a cashless society.
Yeah. Whether we like it or not, I think people can have their opinions on
100%.
that, but it's just happening, right?
100%. I mean, I I think back in the day, and I can't give you an exact timeline, but I think an ATM you could have really placed anywhere, and it most likely would have been successful. I think there's still definitely an industry because I've been successful just in the last few months. Obviously, it's not a huge time horizon of data. Um, so I think it was a lot easier to just pop one up and, people need cash all the time. But there's still specific areas and businesses that need cash. I just think it takes a lot longer to find because I have found businesses that I've talked to, and just the more I talk to them, I don't we call it kind of camping out. I kind of just sit and watch for a few hours. I just pull and I kind of just see who uses it, just interact with customers. Yeah, there's the majority that I've kind of prospected haven't worked, but I'm in three locations right now, and two of them are already profitable.
And what are those other locations?
So the by far the best location I'm in is a dispensary.
Okay.
It only uses cash. There's ton, a ton of people coming in. The majority don't have cash on them.
Yeah.
So they come in. I don't know the fee off the top of my head. It's not. I think it's between 3 and 350. And I mean, you can't use debit card. You can't use credit card. I don't exactly know the regulations behind it, but I just know that that specific dispensary doesn't take
I
it. That's
I
been by far the best one.
I used to own a dispensary that didn't take credit or debit either.
Really?
Yeah.
See, that would have been a great place to put your
It
ATMs.
well, it didn't have a building or anything. I just,
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. D- um, full disclaimer here, YouTube. Um, that was a joke. That was satire. I have never sold marijuana illegally. Um, a drug store, a marijuana company that only takes cash, is screaming illegal operation to me. But I'm not here to judge. Like, I don't even think that would be legal here. To like not, I don't even think they'd let you do it. Like, be cash
Well,
only.
again, I'm not super familiar with the regulations of
Hey,
marijuana
you don't
in
need
the
to
U.S.
be.
Um, no, yeah,
That's
100%. But I do know because it's not legal federally,
yeah.
but it is by certain states. So I think, and again, I could be misleading people, but I'm pretty sure that some, at least before, didn't want the transaction history, or I didn't really know exactly how it works. All I know is that they need an ATM. They need cash. So that's by far my best or my most profitable. The second place is the bar, which I told you about. Honestly, quite a bit. Of obviously they use it for the pool table, things like that. But a lot of people just need cash. I don't know exactly why. But the math is mathing.
Well,
So,
that's all that matters.
um, yeah. Third place is a barbershop.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they do accept card. The only thing is I put my fee lower than what the credit card company is charging them.
Okay.
So they actually try to promote, you know, I kind of left it up to them. But it's cheaper for the business because one, it's a revenue stream, and two, it's cheaper for the customers to use. Well, I guess not for the customers, but the business isn't paying 3% on top of it.
Yeah, and I don't want to
That's
throw
very new, so it's not profitable, but
I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but a barber shop strikes me as somewhere where you would tip your barber in cash, and they maybe wouldn't tell the Internal Revenue Service about it. Speculatively,
well,
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
I think that's. I mean, before I moved to California, I have never seen a barbershop that takes card. I didn't know
Okay.
any did because, and I always figured it was because of what you just said. Um, but again, I don't. As long as I mean, obviously, I want to work with companies that are legally operating. And that's even in the contract that have them sign. But really, at the end of the day, it's a revenue stream for the business and it's a revenue stream for me. Um,
And
yeah,
it
so I
and
have
it's
three locations right now. It's going pretty well.
in theory a value add for the customer as well.
Yeah,
Because I guess
correct.
that was like one of my big um concerns is like none of the places that I could think of would add value to have it there, and any place that they did, like they were operating their own anyway.
That's fair. Yeah, honestly, most of the places that I I literally just walk miles a day, kind of just popping my head into places that I think would be worth it. And most of them already have it. I've tried you know, to offer businesses better deals, but the majority of the time, if you walk into a business, it's not the owner behind the front desk,
Yeah,
you know. So that's kind of the hard part is, I am essentially a solicitor.
yeah,
And you say, hey, can I talk to the owner? Everyone's like, go screw yourself, dude.
yeah.
Um,
Dude, if one of my
but so
employees
I'm happy to be.
if one of my employees gave my cell phone number to a ATM salesman, I would be pissed.
Yeah. Well, I just give them the business card and just hey, and I always frame it. What's kind of works for me is I used to approach it by hey, and I say really I found that people don't like the word ATM
Okay.
because it's associated with, I mean, not me specifically, but money laundering, any financial transactions. Just I kind of frame it as hey, I am interested in renting a space in your business. Can you please let the owner of the business reach out to me? And then the owner reaches out to me. And it's intriguing because they're like, what do you mean you want to rent a space in my
Hmm.
business?
Yeah.
Especially a lot of the barbershops think that I'm asking to rent a chair.
Okay.
But that kind of just gets because I'm pretty good for the most part of talking. If somebody can give me 5, 10 minutes of their time, I can really not necessarily persuade, but I can illustrate that it's going to make the business money and myself. And the more money that I make, the more money they make.
Yeah.
It's a very mutualistic partnership.
Well, it really doesn't cost them anything except power, I guess, and the space, I guess, if that was something they were concerned about.
100%. And
Yeah.
honestly, one thing that's helped my business so much is that we don't have these businesses signing long-term contracts. So a lot of these companies, um, will go into a business and say, "Hey, we want you to stay for we're going to put this ATM in here for 1 to 3 years. We're going to lock in this rate." And I kind of came in and like, well, how is my business going to be different? Why would somebody go with me? Because even like, why if I walked into a business there and had an ATM and say, "Hey, I'm going to save you 25 cents on this transaction," is it really worth it?
Yeah, that's
So
not
a
worth my
lot of the
time to
times,
switch.
yeah. So I just kind of build a relationship with the business owner, and I say, "Hey, I'm not going to lock you into a contract." Obviously, I had them sign a contract for legal reasons, but at any time they don't feel that my business is making them money, they just have to give me 30 days notice to take it out. Because one, it's extremely heavy, and I can't just go in there with the dolly and move it, you know?
All I'm thinking of is the Breaking Bad where they steal an ATM and then it crushes the guy.
Yeah, I was trying to avoid that.
Yeah. um yeah, it's interesting. Like it's so that's basically because like I so I just searched my Twitter for all the times I've tweeted the word ATM, and most of it is me saying at the moment, but just abbreviating it. Um, but one of them, where was it? I tweeted in 2023. I want to buy a vending machine or an ATM, but I don't know where to put them and how to approach the property owners. So I think that's the big thing I think people ask is like, how do I get these locations where they're going? And you're saying you literally just kind of walk until you look, oh, that's like a cash based business.
Yeah, I mean, so you kind of know what kind of businesses are going to need it. It's it's where you think the most cash is going to be needed, but you also need to find places that are open the longest
Hmm.
and have the most foot traffic. So like I don't necessarily like barbershops. I mean, I found one because I'm actually this is where I get my haircut. Like
Yeah.
I have a very good relationship with the business owners, but a lot of the times is the longer the business is open, the more likely or the more chances that somebody are going to use it. So if you have a business that closes at 9 p.m. every day, you know, you're limiting yourself. So that's why I love bars and dispensaries is because they're open very late.
Can you see
But
like
yeah,
do
the
you
prospecting is very hard.
yeah, because that's I think for me at least, like thinking about it, like my time is better spent. Like I could generate much more income spending my effort on something else rather than like soliciting people to place my ATMs, I would say. Um do you I don't know how high tech these machines are. Can you see like when transactions are coming out and stuff?
Yeah, so it's essentially an app on your phone.
Yeah.
So the second somebody pulls out cash, it tells me how much cash they took out, what time they took it out, um, the transaction fee. It shows me it going to the bank account of the business, also going to mine, and I can literally log on and see exactly how much is in the ATM.
Well, that's cool. Because then you don't have to
Yeah, so
like
it's very fast.
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I'd be curious to see the like 4 a.m. people taking out $80 out of a dispensary ATM at 4 in the morning. Is funny.
Oh, the bar, I wake up to a lot of notifications.
Yeah,
That's after bedtime.
I bet. Yeah, some of the things they're buying at the bar, I assume, are cash only as well. Um,
Yeah,
I,
that's my assumption.
yeah, my an anecdote I have kind of in that regard is uh, acquaintance of mine. I'll be pretty vague. Acquaintance of mine, his family member owned a very seedy apartment block. So it's probably maybe 40 units in like not a good end of town, catering to, just cheaper, whatever. And he would make almost as much money off the ATM than he was making in profit on the rent. Um,
Wow.
because there was kind of like I'm trying to be careful with the words, but there were known purveyors of goods that only accept cash that would like hang out in the park in the courtyard behind the apartment building. So
Mhm.
then people would come in there to get cash because that was like an ATM that was open 24/7 because it was like in the outer lobby of the apartment building. So it was like you didn't have to buzz in to get to it or whatever. So a lot of people that needed to buy something at 4 a.m., by the baggie or whatever, they would just go in there to get cash. And he was making like an obscene amount of money, like tens of thousands of dollars from that thing, allegedly. I never saw
That's
the
crazy.
transactions, but that's the anecdote I heard, which I
Yeah.
thought it
No, I
added up.
believe it.
It added up. That
Yeah.
was like 10 years ago probably. So I know the world's changed. Like my drug dealers take Interact e-transfer. I don't need cash anymore.
Venmo.
Yeah.
Just
Um,
for everyone listening, though, like I do get lots of transactions during the day. I don't want everybody to think I'm just,
my mind
I'm
immediately
just,
goes cash. If it's cash, it's illicit.
yeah, I'm sure there are many legal things.
Yeah, no.
I am fully legal operationally. For
For the record,
for anyone listening.
that is just me that is making that assumption. Um, that's funny. Yeah. Well, and then just to finish up on the illegal side, something else that I responded in our thread when we were talking in March is that there was this big case. The police in my city, or the RCMP, so our like federal police, kind of like our FBI, did a raid where they seized a bunch of ATMs from different bars in our city because they were all owned by the Hells Angels motorcycle gang. Um, and they were just using them to launder money, apparently, allegedly. I don't know if they were ever convicted of this, but it was a big story because, like, this was back when I was like just getting into the liquor industry. Um, so you network or whatever. So that was like a big story in the bar owners networks is that
Yeah.
RCMP started breaking into bars to seize ATMs because and apparently a lot of the time the bar owners weren't even in on it. They were just approached by somebody like you, obviously. Disclaimer, you do it legitimately, but they were approached by somebody that says, "Hey, we'll put an ATM in your place," and then they would get their people to go through and deposit, you know, cash, and then that's how they were laundering it. Um, so
That
that,
is wow, that is a crazy story. There had to have been a bank that was allowing like because like what so, like let's say I wanted to put in cash that I just had on me. I would never do that because like I usually so what I do is I go to the bank that I'm registered with.
yeah.
I'll get X amount of money, and then it goes to my app, and you can see exactly the time and how much money I put in the ATM. So if I don't know how they could launder money without a bank showing fake or forging
I
transactions.
mean, they did get caught, so
Because obviously you're an idiot. You're an idiot. Like you know what I mean? Like if you keep putting in money and then they go, well, where'd you get all this cash?
yeah.
Like obviously you're
Maybe
money laundering.
maybe it was like maybe it was the okay. I'll skim the article. Maybe it was the opposite way. Maybe they were like putting money in it and then
Because that would be what I would. I don't know. Not that I am just well versed in the world of money laundering, but I think that'd be the only way to do it.
yeah. No, I agree with you. Uh, I'm skimming the article. Oh, and apparently because of this case, they made it so that you can't have a criminal record and own an ATM now.
Interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I did pass the background check.
They did a background check on you?
Yeah.
That's yeah, that
Well,
is
yeah, I mean, I honestly I didn't really know if it was just because I was opening a business or what, but I mean, you had to go through basically showing that you weren't
that you're going to use it for money
you know,
laundering.
I mean, it's yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
RCMP report estimates Hells Angels bikers control 5% of the private ATM business in Canada, and the report says $315 million a year are laundered through white label ATMs. And this was written in,
Jeez.
this is an article from 2013, so I don't know if it's more or less now, but um, okay. As far as so the machine you're saying all tied to an app and everything, did you buy this thing new?
Yeah, so that's the biggest mistake that I think a lot of new ATM business owners make is they buy because you can buy a pretty cheap one, I don't know, Facebook Marketplace, eBay, whatever. But the problem is that you have to have a financial, I forgot what their actual name is. Basically somebody to handle all the software and the financial transactions for you, because all the bank does is provide the business checking account and gives you the cash. You
Yeah.
have to work with a financial institution that actually handles all the transactions and goes to all the bank accounts. Um, so anyway, so if you buy a used one, a lot of people leave their own software on there. So it's kind of like, you see the videos on Twitter of like people going to 7-Elevens and there's that fake where you put in your card.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So basically they'll skim your cards. But two, so the company I work with, I bought a brand new ATM every time, and they don't charge me a fee because how they make the money through the bank because the bank pays the financial company and doesn't put it on me. So they're making money just by having me as a client. That a lot of other companies will impose more fees on top of that. So I have a pretty good business relationship with them, and the only person that I pay is the business owner of that I'm actually placing the ATM in.
Okay. That does sound interesting. That sounds like free money. Just kidding. Um,
Don't get me wrong, it took me a while to find the company. Like there's a lot of them, a lot of phone calls, and then they want 25 cents off of each transaction. I'm like,
yeah.
the margins are already small.
Yeah. I also think that'll like just from having this article in front of me here, it looks like that would not be the same in my country. Looks like Interac kind of runs this whole ATM processing thing. Um, the United States is kind of more Wild West when it comes to banking legislation and what you can get away with. Um, so just if you're listening this to start your own ATM side hustle, just be aware that the laws may change depending on the region that you're in. But yeah, it's interesting. Is this something you want to expand? Like, do you want to get more of them?
Yeah, 100%. I'm just trying not to get too far ahead of myself.
Yeah,
Because one, yeah, it's been great, but just like anything, you need time to gain experience and learn. And really, I haven't, knock on wood here, I haven't ran into any issues. 'Cause when you buy an ATM, and then obviously you have your transaction fee, you have to get, so just pulling out the top of my head, like I need around 900 transactions to just pay for the ATM itself.
yeah.
So when you start having maintenance issues,
It starts putting that
you know,
number back down.
so it starts. So I don't want to get to so I have three right now, and two of them are going very well. One's very new. I don't want to run into the issue where I grew too fast and I'm inexperienced because I really haven't had anything negative happen. And actually, it's funny going back to when we were talking about prospecting. The biggest issue I've ran into, and it actually isn't people telling me to screw myself, which happens a lot. Um, it's vandalism
Mm,
because a lot of these places, especially barbershops, have these large glass windows in the front. So if somebody's, walking by and they see a lit up, because doesn't turn off, it's on 24/7.
yeah,
They walk by and there's just a sheet of glass covering you from an ATM. I mean, we bolt it down and all that stuff and it has security,
yeah. But in
but all
some
these business
people's
owners are
heads, um, it's just a pane of glass between them and $100,000 in that ATM. In some of these people's heads as they walk by,
100%.
right?
And it's the business owners are like, well, is it worth it if we have somebody breaking in
Yeah,
and it's going to cost us X amount of money and we're only making X amount of money from you?
yeah.
Because,
Is my
I mean,
45
obviously the
cents a
businesses are
transaction all of a sudden worth it if I have to replace a pane of glass every 3 weeks?
100%. And essentially I found with the businesses that I'm working with is I pretty much pay their utilities.
Hmm.
Like that's kind of the amount of money they're making. Like it's not a amount of money that's really changing the life of the business. It's covering not only the electricity from the ATM, but it's also covering the utilities for the entire place. So it helps out a lot, don't get me wrong, but
Like,
they just
you know,
some businesses,
as someone who's run
yeah,
startups, it's like every dollar helps for sure. And like
100%.
if you're writing a business plan and you're like, oh, I have my utilities comped for me and I don't have to do anything, that's a pretty good thumbs up for your business plan, right?
100%.
Yeah. Um, Staying with ATMs, any vending machine aspirations?
Well, I've thought about it. Um, that is a lot more upkeep for sure,
Yeah.
because going to the bank and putting in a couple grand is much simpler. And I have to do less often, but if you have a vending machine and all the Coke sell out, but not the Pepsis, or you know what I mean? Like you're going a lot more often.
Yeah. Expiry
Also,
dates.
yeah, and also I don't really know. I don't necessarily know where you would put a vending machine. I mean,
Yeah, where do people
yeah,
just go to Costco, guys?
like sure, like if I could get a vending machine in an airport, absolutely sign me up.
Yeah, but good luck,
But I'm
right?
just trying to think of, yeah, 100%. So I'm just trying to think of, why would you use my vending machine if you can walk to the bodega down the street? You could also say that about the ATM as well, but it's just if your bank isn't close. But I don't really have any plans to. Honestly, the ATMs are going pretty well. I think I'm just kind of focused on not trying to do too many things at once.
Yeah, I guess to like the average person, it might seem like it's a similar business. Like, oh, if it's a machine, you put stuff inside and you fix it if it breaks and whatever. But I guess it is a different market now that I said that out loud. Like, it's a completely different place you would put those two machines.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause, like I'm sure best in my like I'm yeah, airport's a good one. I think hospital, something like that, like where your people are there unexpectedly, and you can't run out to go get food. Um, I always like there's a lot of in big like uh warehouse like I'm just thinking of like where I pick up my some of my bottles that we get for the winery. They have like a vending machine for their employees like in the warehouse because it's this big warehouse or whatever. Um,
Yeah, that's a pretty good spot.
yeah, yeah,
I
it's
think
interesting.
I don't know if you've been in a hotel recently at all, but have you ever seen those little mini marts? It's kind of just has like a screen and a bunch of items out, and you basically just go up, you buy it, and then they're trusting you just scan it and pay for it there.
Okay, that's interesting. No, I haven't seen that. I don't travel much.
So that is something that I think could be a good. And I mean, you're in a business that has cameras, things like that. And in a hotel, the upcharge is ridiculous. But again, I mean, even the ATM thing is new for me. I think I'm really just I'm always thinking about other things, but yeah, I'm kind of content as in right now.
So, how much money do you need to put in an ATM realistically to like have enough money for people?
I'd say between 2 and 3 grand at least.
Yeah, that's like
So
almost
realistically,
less than I thought.
well, you can put as much as you want. I mean, it's for the ATMs that I buy, it's 3 cassettes of 3 grand. So
Yeah,
you obviously have to pay for the cassettes, but so if I wanted a cassette full of $3,000, I did $5 bills and another one $20 bills. I just do 20s. But you can put as much as you want in there. But again, I really just wanted to put it in there and see how it went. So I wasn't really trying to go put $10,000 into one
yeah, for sure.
ATM.
Because like in the times that I've used ATMs, which is not often, um, you like a couple things. Number one, I think I don't know if there's any ATMs I've ever seen that are not denominations of 20s. Like it's you can't take out $5 from an ATM, and then also like I think maybe it's just me, but like I think a lot of people would be like, well, I need to take out at least $100 to make the $3 fee worth it. Otherwise, I'm paying, you know, 20% fee to take out $20.
Absolutely.
But if
And it's
I pay a way lower fee if I take out more money,
yeah.
percentage wise.
Um well, and just a lot of most places just do 20s because if you did fives, for example, I don't know when you would need a bunch of fives.
Yeah.
Um, but if you wanted $80 of fives, that's 16 notes compared to four. So you're gonna have to go in there and restock a lot more often.
Yeah. Dude, if I
Um,
took like $500 out of an ATM and just started spitting fives at me, I'd be like, what the hell
someone's
is
gonna
going
rob
on?
you at that point. If they see 100 notes coming out, someone's robbing you.
Coins just start coming out. That's another that's what you got to get into the things they have at like grocery stores. You pour your spare change into it, it gives you bills.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes like 7 cents off every dollar.
Yeah. Like that's a pretty just cuz people are too lazy to roll them themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's funny. I forgot about those.
Yeah, me too. I just thought about it
And those
now.
brings me back to like the piggy bank days of as a little kid.
See, I always need change for my cash registers across all three businesses. So I just like all the change that I accumulate, I just like take hundreds that I would have put in the bank and just swap them out for like loonies and toonies from my wallet.
Mm.
And then I never have to.
Do people need do people need a lot of coins? I mean,
Yeah, we like farmers markets and stuff. Um, People pay a lot more in cash. Um,
I'll be honest, give me quarters, sure, because I can do laundry with them. Like anything lower than a quarter would just be,
yeah. Well, remember, like
I don't know if that's just me.
we have like $1 and $2 coins.
Yeah, that's a family from Canada. I have a couple of those actually.
Yeah. So like that's mainly it's like I don't use like dimes and nickels and stuff, but it's a lot of loonies because it has a loon on it. Toonies because it's two loonies. We're very clever up here. And then
I like it. I like it.
quarters usually. I've like priced most of my prices so they're even numbers after taxes, so I don't have to like carry nickels with me.
Yeah,
Yeah,
makes sense.
but yeah, I kind of saw like um, it probably used to be like maybe pre-COVID was like 15% of our transactions were cash, and then it went down to like less than 1%, and then now it's back up to like probably 5%, but it's still like almost nothing cash
Yeah.
versus card, which is like I guess like are you concerned at all about going cashless and then you just have these useless machines?
I mean, I think I would be stupid not to worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that again, it's really just places that I think, like, I don't think it would just turn on a dime. If they just announced, if the dispensary came to me and said, "Hey, we're going to take a card now," then I would be like, "Oh crap,"
Yeah,
But then I would move it. I'd find a new location.
yeah,
Um, but I think you can argue a lot of things. I mean, it's not that this is anywhere close to being on the same realm, but it's like when people say, "Oh, why would you invest in Visa? Because Bitcoin's taking over."
sure.
It's just like, no, even though I don't mean to get off topic, but cash will always be needed. Like, it's not going to just disappear. Um, but again, if you put in the time and you find a location that works, I'm not worried. But again, if a location wasn't working out, the great thing about an ATM is I can move it. I can put it somewhere else.
Yeah,
It's not the easiest to move,
but it can be
but
done.
yeah. But
Yeah,
you make a very fair point. And I mean, and anybody that is considering getting into the ATM business, I mean, it's something you definitely have to think about. And it's very hard to find locations that are cash only. And if you
definitely.
do, they have an ATM.
Yeah, because like I just do cash back for the very infrequent. Like the only time I can think of I ever needed to do it was like we have like a band playing in the bar and somebody wants to tip them cash. But then
Mm,
I'll just do cash back. Like I'll just add it to their tab or whatever and give them cash. Um
okay.
is this an industry that's like controlled by giant corporations or is it a lot of like independent people?
Um, I mean, there are corporations that do it. I mean, but I think there is also a lot of like smaller LLCs like me.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of the times, I mean, if I'm at, I'll be walking around and I see an ATM, I'll just put my card in there and get to the point where it says, the ATM fee is X amount of dollars. Are you okay with that? And then I hit no.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it says managed by
Okay.
John Doe LLC, so places like that. Sometimes I'll see large, like the national, I can't remember off the top of my head, it's like the national ATM or, the big ones. But the majority of the corporations just sell and they want the financial backing, the transactions. They don't want to actually take on the risk of putting the ATMs in there. I mean,
Well,
they're probably thinking, well, we're going cashless anyways, right?
yeah. Well, I guess a lot of like banks kind of operate their own ATMs, right? Like I feel like I've seen bank ATMs in like a grocery store.
Yeah, definitely. And that's another thing to consider is you don't want to put an ATM by a bunch of national banks because if there's a Bank America across the street, A lot of people have a Bank of America account. Why would they? They're just gonna walk across the street.
Yeah, because then they'll be most ATMs, at least here, are if you like get money out of your own bank's ATM, you either pay like no fee or less of a fee.
Yeah, a lot of credit cards do give you a couple ATM transactions free a month.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know which ones exactly. I will say though, another great location that I just have that everyone has, but like the convenience stores, 7-Elevens,
Yeah,
gas stations do great.
yeah. I was
It's just
actually
everyone has
I just asked Grok about companies that operate ATMs, and it looks like the largest one is Cardtronics. I'm not sure if they actually brand it Cardtronics or not, but that apparently they own 70,000 ATMs in the United States, and they have
one.
a partnership with Walgreens and 7-Eleven for the continental United States to put it's all their ATMs.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So that's yeah, because like that's a way to do it. Is I'm sure a lot of people like if I right now it's 4 in the morning, bank's closed, or I don't have a car, or whatever. If I just had to like be like, okay, where is the closest ATM, and I didn't exactly know where one was. I'm like 7-Eleven's probably a good bet. Like that'd be a good place to go to for an
Yeah,
ATM. Like I wouldn't be like, oh, there's a barber shop down the street unless I knew it was there. You know what I mean?
yeah, huh, interesting. It's funny that you brought that up because actually, in the contracts that we give the businesses, that we put the ATMs in, we have a clause in there that if for some reason they did open another location, they have to give us
First
the
access.
chance to put an ATM in there. I mean, they can choose not to have an ATM at all,
Yeah,
but they have to give us an offer of saying if unless they get a better competing offer, they have to go with us.
that's interesting. That's did you come up
So
with that?
if let's say we're getting 15% and another company wants to give 15%, they have to go with us. If
Yeah,
they want to go 18 and we're not willing to match it, then by all means go with them. We're not going to hold you hostage.
yeah.
Um, no, honestly, I spent I don't know 10 hours just going over every single contract I could find, and I just took the best pieces from all of them.
Rip off and duplicate, they
And
say. It's a good way to do business.
yeah, yeah,
I like that though. That's something I wouldn't have thought of. That's interesting. Um yeah, cuz like I guess that like the ideal would be or like I guess the ideal situation would be like you can find a business that's like enterprising and kind of get it on the ground floor and then like grow with them, right? Cuz you're like kind of an accoutrement business where you're related to the business but not related to the business.
mhm,
Yeah. So like if you could find the next Walgreens or whatever and be like, I'm your ATM partner and then grow with them, that would be good.
yeah. I mean, that would be remarkable. I mean, I don't know if
I
the
mean,
next
yeah,
Walgreens would go with the
if you
guy
ever
with
wanted to own
three.
70,000 ATMs in the continental US, then that's that'd be a good way to do
Oh, you're modern day investing on Twitter, right? Yeah, we'll do it.
it. See, hey, personal brand, baby. That's what you got to do. um yeah, it's an interesting okay, so the deal that you have with this company or whatever that you don't pay, do they take care of maintenance, or is that something you have to deal with?
Um, so there's a couple different ways you can go about it. You can pay them a small fee from every transaction, and they will handle everything.
Okay.
What we personally do is since we bought it new, we have a 2-year warranty, which includes all of the upkeep. I plan on doing, like the small things. You got to replace the paper, you got to clean, it's kind of keeping the longevity of it. But after the 2 years, I'll explore my options of how hard it really is it. If it's something major, yeah, absolutely, I'll have the company do it. But for the majority, I don't really want to pay. I kind of need to track how many transactions I'm doing and see if it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because if I'm doing a ton of transactions and they're taking 25 cents off that, is it less or more than what the maintenance is?
Yeah, I guess
Um,
it depends on what the
but
deal is, because if you have to pay them like a
yeah,
monthly fee or something versus a just a percentage of every transaction.
yeah, definitely. And if it requires, it's kind of like a car, is it
Yeah,
worth buying a new one or is it worth putting all this money into an old one that could have more problems? So
but
again, that's just going to come with experience.
yeah, and even more like a car, it's almost like leasing a car versus buying a car, right? Where you like lease it and you have an extended warranty, and anything goes wrong, it's the car, it's not your car technically. Um, it's an interesting model because you, even though you didn't pay up front, you technically own the machine.
Yeah, I own everything besides the software that the company installs. So if I terminated because the business relationship I have with that company, it's not a time. I'm not sure I'm trying to say like a timeline contract. Like I can cancel it at any time. I think I have to give them 14 days. I would still own the ATM, but they would basically turn off the software. Like it's still installed on there, and that's why you don't want to buy used ones because their software is still on there. And a lot of the times,
You got to like
uh,
jailbreak it or something.
yeah. So it's just a headache. You don't want to do it. But yeah, I don't have any plans of reselling.
Yeah, of course.
Reselling it.
I
Well,
guess like
okay, it's
if I'm just like playing devil's advocate and like whenever I do like a conversation like this where I'm talking like I'm like diving into somebody's business, I'm always like my business plan writing brain comes out where I'm just like come up with the risks and challenges page, right? Even however that it wouldn't happen, but like say this company goes out of business for instance, and then you just have a dead machine. I guess you
yeah,
could like
definitely.
at that point I guess it's like you could probably hire some kid who knows Python to like code something for the machine, right? Like in theory.
I think really what it is you just want to get as many transactions as you have to pay off the machine itself, and then you need enough upkeep or in transactions to pay for all the taxes associated with owning a business,
Yeah.
and then everything there is profit. So for some reason the machine broke, I was having issues with it, and I was essentially screwed. If it paid for itself, it wouldn't be, I wouldn't just, yeah, I'm stuck with the machine, but it paid itself off.
Yeah, so it's like
And
well
I
it
hopefully have other ones that, I pay a lot of in taxes just to own a business, and it doesn't matter if I make $100 million or $0. I'm paying the same amount of taxes just to own the business.
yeah, like every year you pay whatever it is. I pay my accountant 2 grand a year to file my corporate filings and all that stuff and whether or not I made how much money I made that doesn't change. So you got to pay the company's office every year to keep your business name and everything registered and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
exactly. So
mean, just in California, yeah, there's a lot of small little things, but to just legally own an LLC, which I do, it's $800 in taxes, and that doesn't include all the small things or the revenue or anything like that. It's almost a barrier to keep because it literally says at the end, like by submitting, you legally know that at the end of the year, the fiscal year, you're going to be charged $800 in taxes, no matter how much money you make. Kind of keeping people from even trying. Um,
I guess
but
one could argue that would motivate people more because you now you have a bottom of how much money you could make with your side hustle. You have to make at least $800.
yeah, they're very fair. I think about it all the time.
Yeah, I mean it's extremely relevant, obviously, because like that's I guess that would be a motivation for me to like. That's why I'm like, let's get into vending machines and let's get into change counting machines and stuff like that. Because I'm thinking like, well, I got to make as much money, and this is like something that scales, right? Um,
Yeah,
more
definitely.
more transactions means more money, and then how do you get more transactions? More locations, right? You work backwards from there. Um, yeah, I guess like that. I would be definitely scared about maintenance and stuff, just because like I don't know anything about anything. Like you show up one day and it says PC load letter on the screen, or malfunction, and you're like, well, I don't know how to deal with this.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean, so you have coverage. I mean, so if that happened, I could call the company, and even if it wasn't necessarily covered, they could tell me what the error code is, and they could walk me through it. If I could fix it, if it needs a new part, obviously you're gonna have to pay, but they're not. It's kind of like it's not kind of like a plumber that's you have to pay for them to come out. Like the plumber's not gonna answer the phone and tell you how to fix your toilet,
yeah,
but the company will do that for an ATM. But I also paid a lot of money to buy it new, you know.
yeah, and I guess like for those listening, there's something called loss of use insurance, which you can get as a business owner. So if like your method of earning money goes down because of whatever, they'll pay you. The insurance will pay you until you can get it operating again. So like I have loss of use insurance on. Is that what it's called? Loss of use insurance, something like that. I think it's loss of use. It's like, yeah, if like my winemaking equipment breaks or whatever, and I can't make a batch of wine, I can make an insurance claim, and they'll pay me monthly, and like whatever your policy is, like 50% of your potential revenue while that piece of equipment's down.
That's cool.
Yeah, so there's stuff like that. There's options. I assume that you could take out insurance policies on the ATMs that would pay you if there was like if they were down for an extended amount of time. Probably not. Wait, not doesn't sound worth it at your size, obviously, because you're gonna pay thousands of dollars a year for a policy, an insurance policy like that. But there are options. You're not completely screwed.
We have to look into that.
Yeah, because I know we have a bunch of weird stuff like that. I have like key person insurance too. So if like one of me, my business partner, or one of my managers gets like hit by a bus or something, then it like pays us enough money to hire and train another person in theory. Yeah, once you start doing like insurance for like businesses, you can basically come up with what you need, and then your broker will pitch it to insurance companies and see if anyone wants to insure it for you.
If anyone wants to take it on.
Yeah, that's basically what you can do, which is
Oh,
yeah. But yeah, I'm trying to think if I have any other I guess like I'm trying to think like what people listening at home would want to know. How many hours a week you figure you put into this?
Um, to the business, or do you think? Because the majority of my time is spent prospecting.
Yeah.
Like once I get the agreement signed by the business, it takes me. I mean, I literally just have to upload a form to the financial company I work with that says, here's a location, all the identification numbers, all that stuff. They ship it, they install it, and then I pick up money from the bank, and that's it.
Yeah. And then like I
Like
guess
once it's very simple once like it's a very, very simple business once you have it set up. It's just finding one good locations that are going to be profitable and people to take a chance on you. Um, you kind of to go back where you said, couldn't, prospecting, could my time be spent
yeah.
better somewhere else? I mean, it kind of goes back to, you know, could somebody just work a part-time job instead,
Yeah.
and have,
Don't start a
100%,
business.
you
Just
100% you
yeah.
could work a part-time job, but it's the prospect of what you can make. Because now that I'm in these businesses, I'm making money. I mean, obviously, I put in money to make money, but I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
All I have to do is every couple of weeks I have to fill up the ATM. But if nothing realistically happens, and it hasn't so far, again, knock on wood. I hate using the term passive because nothing's passive, but realistically, if I have 10 ATMs in circulation and I want to stop prospecting, all I have to do is fill it up every couple weeks, and I can do that all at the same time.
See, but now that you said it, I can make the thumbnail of this video say passive income, $9,000 only working every couple weeks. And then it's me going,
Oh man, hey, that could go viral. I love it. It's always that facial expression. It drives me crazy. I know it works. But it's every video on YouTube.
well, it's funny because like
It's always like 50-year-old men, and I'm like, I get it, man.
usually when I do it, I'm like doing it ironically. Um, like when I interviewed Dividend Dave about the his trucking company. I don't know if you saw that one, but I'm just like the richest trucker in Canada, and it's like me going, "What?" Like, but I'm like doing it ironically, but then like you scroll like YouTube and it's like people doing it unironically, and I'm like, I feel sorry for you.
It works. I don't know exactly the reasoning behind it. I don't know if it sparks like interest, but
Yeah,
it's every single video.
yeah, there's got to be some sort of human brain thing there. We all, I think the ATM, because like, I'm sure obviously you're actually doing it and actually making a profit. But there's like ATMs and vending machines, I think were a thing for a little bit where like these like financial influencers were like passive income. They always have a new thing every couple months. And I feel like
Yeah.
ATMs was like a thing for a bit there. Between
Oh, it 100% is.
yeah, between forex trading and Bitcoin staking, it was ATMs for a couple weeks there. Um, and I feel um, do you think it was more or less or about the same amount of effort to get those ATMs in those locations than you thought it was going to be?
Um, that's a good question. I think less.
Less effort than you
Um,
thought it was going to be.
well, I think a lot of the times, like when people hear prospecting, they hear walking into businesses, like they think it's
Yeah.
like this big time commitment. I walk into a business and the entire interaction is less than 3 minutes.
Yeah, because I mean,
It could
like,
sometimes it's 30 seconds.
yeah,
But,
because
like,
a lot of business owners just, oh, you can make me money? Okay. Like, it's not complicated.
yeah, it's really just how we frame it. And a lot of times I walk in there and people tell me to screw myself, and I go, awesome, okay,
Yeah.
and I walk out.
On to the next one.
And then I go to the next location. I could see it being different. I mean, if you live in a kind of rural area where you have to drive to every single business,
Yeah.
but I'm in a pretty dense populated city where I can pop into businesses very quickly. I mean, I don't just pop into every single one and say, "Hey, do you want an ATM?" Like, then you need to find a spot that works. But
Yeah.
a lot of the times I kind of just sorry, go for it.
Yeah. Like, doing a sales call on an unqualified lead, like by just going door to door, is just setting yourself up for failure, disappointment. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I think like most of the sale is done for something like this before you actually make the call. Like figuring out that they're a qualified lead before you actually make the call, I think is important.
Uh, for anyone listening to a big thing I can recommend too is if I'm ever doing something like, let's say I'm returning an Amazon package and I have to drive 10 minutes to a different area that I don't live in, I will literally go there and then I'll look on the way, bars, barbershops, things like that, and I'll just park near wherever I am and I'll just go on a walk. You're probably going on a walk already every day, for the most part. I mean, you just pop in, and sometimes I don't see any spots, but I'll walk by a business. If they don't have an ATM, I'll go home and I'll do research on them. I'll try to, it's really just I feel like if you're worried about how much time it's going to take, you should not own a business because
Yeah.
you know what I mean? It's like if you're worried how much time it's going to take, you're like you're not going to enjoy owning a business,
Yeah.
you know.
But I think
And I'm very small. Like I
that's
don't
where
know.
like a lot of the gurus kind of come in, where that's what people seem to be attracted to, is like passive income with no effort put in, right? Like that's what is this carrot they're dangling in front of you, is the whole concept of passive income, where you can just like do it this one time and then you get paid forever. But that's like
Yeah,
a really negative way to look at business in general.
100%.
Yeah.
I think people all like really neglect the chance to work for themselves as well. I mean, because I hear that all the time. It's like, oh, well, how much time are you spending? I'm like, dude, you're putting in 40 hours for somebody else. You're telling me you can't put in 5 hours a week into yourself? And if it doesn't work out, okay, like you're you can, you know what I mean? Like, let's say all three of my ATMs didn't work out and I lost, I so far I've put in around, let's see, 17 grand, but a lot of that is cash, so if
You just take the
something happened,
cash
I can
back.
pull the cash out back. But the worst thing that can happen is I go back to my 9 to 5 and I work there for an extra month,
Yeah, to get that
you
back.
know?
I guess like yeah, that was going to be kind of where I wanted to end off, if you're okay with going into the actual numbers. I'm curious on like how much these machines cost, what the kind of
Yeah,
monthly
yeah, we
turnaround
can.
is like, and what kind of the so like let's start there. Like what if you were buying this machine brand new and actually paying upfront for it, what would it cost? And then what is kind of the is that the same amount of money that you're paying this company to, like, you're basically leased to owning it, right? That was what I was getting.
No, so I own outright,
Okay.
but the software they install. So it's kind of like I can relate it to something.
But did you like
Um,
but you were saying you didn't pay them up front for it?
no, so I do.
Okay.
I'll walk through it.
Sure. Yeah.
So I pay. There's obviously different models you can get. I specifically buy Halo 2s. It's the most researched. I love Halo 3, the game, so it's kind of funny.
The
Um,
I'm gonna put in
anyway,
the Halo theme song there just for a second.
anyways, that's all the research that I've done, and that's the most common one I see is the one I went with, and the one that the financial company recommended. It's, I believe, 2450. So that's just an upfront cost,
Two thousand four
um,
hundred and $50.
$1,450. So that's why I said it takes around 900 transactions to make money on, because it varies by location, what the average um fee is. It's around $3 to 350 for all of them, but I give the majority of the businesses 15%.
Okay. So
So
there's
it's not exactly 900, but it's somewhere around there.
okay. So there's no other fee. Like, okay, so if your ATM did no transactions, you wouldn't pay the business owner anything?
Correct.
Right. And I wonder if that's because the other way to do it would be to pay them a monthly fee to rent the space, and then you don't pay them
Yeah.
anything per transaction. So
Yeah,
it's
that's another way to go
yeah,
about it.
it's that's interesting. Like, I wonder what would be where the well, I mean, yeah, I guess you could do easy math, but like where that would be more worth it for you.
Yeah,
Because
I've thought about it. It's just one of those things that I like the flexibility because if I go into a location and it's really just not profitable,
yeah, this is
I can
less
pull it
risk.
out,
This is less risk up
you
front.
know. Yeah, and I really like framing the kind of the pitch to companies of being because I think like a lot of people consider salesmen to be parasites in a way, where I go in there and say, listen, I'm the only way I make money is if people are using the machine. It's like we make money together. If nobody's using it, I don't make money. Like we're in this together
Yeah,
almost.
it's in my
Um,
best interest to have more people using it.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, so it's really just I'm renting a space and you're allowing me to put my business in here and I'm paying you a fee for that. But yeah, there's definitely multiple ways to go about it. I just kind of like I don't know, I kind of like keeping the mutualistic relationship there because I just feel like, if I'm running the space, do they really care? Are they going to be pushing for the ATM? Are they going to be, oh, hey, Jude, by the way, did you see that we had this? Or, 'cause in my contracts, I have all the businesses allow me to place a sign out front of the store. Um, and again, the more they promote it, the more money I make, the more money they make.
Yeah. No, I think that's skin in the game, as the great now retired Warren Buffett would say. Um, so you buy the machine for 2,450 United States dollars, which is approximately 3,400 Canadian dollars, and then you approach a business with this machine that you've now put, what you said, $3,000 in approximately.
So I always get the location first signed. So then I ship the ATM there. So I never
Before
have
you
an
buy the
ATM.
machine.
I never, if I gave one piece of advice, never buy the machine until you have the location.
Yeah, that's smart.
It's one, it's very, very expensive to move around because it's so heavy. So you want the ATM um, uh, business that is selling the ATM. You want them to send it to the location and install it. I've actually installed it myself. It's really not hard, just to save some money. Um, but yeah, don't buy them up front. That's just a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, that sounds reasonable to me. Because I guess like the only worry in
Uh,
that would be is if like you couldn't get a machine very quickly. Like when you're buying these, they arrive pretty quick.
yeah, I usually say it's going to take around 30 to 45 days,
Okay.
and it usually comes earlier because I like to say it's going to take longer than it is
Yeah, of
because
course.
they're,
Under
you
promise,
know,
over deliver, right?
100%. But it doesn't. Obviously, it took much longer for the first one than the others because essentially when you start an ATM business, you have to get the location, and then you have to go to the bank and say, "Hey, here's my tax identification number. Here's the financial institution that I'm working with, and here's the location." Because again, there is still a very big stigma around ATMs and money laundering.
Yeah.
And just the banks. I mean, you can't even go to the bank and pull out more than $500 without them asking you what it's for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if I'm going to the bank and saying, "Hey, I need $3,000 in 20s," you know,
Yeah.
you have to have a lot of documentation of what you're using it for.
Yeah.
Um, but once that's set up, it's really just waiting until it's shipped. You can have someone install it yourself, and you're good to go. The biggest worry is that you're it's not going to be profitable, or the business for some reason, I don't know, doesn't do well.
Yeah. Okay. And then the only ongoing cost would be the only ongoing costs you have are only associate. You're only paying when you make money, right? Like you're paying to the ATM company every transaction, and you're paying to the business owner every transaction.
The ATM, the financial company doesn't make any money from me. Make money from the bank. So essentially, like let's say you were a Bank of America customer and you use my ATM. They are paying me a fee, which goes to the business owner and to me. Bank of America is actually paying the financial company money that you don't see.
Okay.
It's basically so, and that's what I didn't know, and that's why I wouldn't recommend ever going with a company that is charging you a fee to use them because they're making money off the bank.
Yeah, so you don't
And
want them double
it's kind
dipping.
of funny that I kind of one of the reasons I love X and I love Reddit and I love this kind of the community sphere of things is because when I was researching how to do this whole ATM business, I found a Reddit post from this guy and he said, "Hey, he was commenting on basically someone wanted to run an ATM business, and he said, "Hey, I work for X and X. I've been a sales manager here for X amount of years. You know." He kind of gave some details, and he said, "Just call me, and I'll walk you through it." So I called him, and I was like, "Hey, I saw your Reddit post from 2 years ago," and he was like, "Really?" And he's like, "Yeah." And then he kind of just explained, not the business, but he kind of explained all the fees and stuff like that. And I was like, "Okay, well, how do you make money? Essentially, that's what you should ask every business that you're working with. How do you make money?" And he said, "I'm making it strictly from the bank. That's why we don't charge a fee. And you should never go with a company that charges you one." Um, anyways, long story short, the only when you the only money is going to me and the business owner.
Interesting. Because I guess like that's just a misnomer. Because like I would have thought you were paying the company as well for processing fees or whatever.
A lot of people are, and I might be, an isolated situation. I bet if you ask a lot of other ATM owners that they are, but really it comes down to it's such a small margin as it is that if you're paying a lot of other people, unless you're in a very good location, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Now I'm thinking about buying ATMs. I'm just kidding. um, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Yeah, I guess we basically ran through it. So the you buy them, you fill them with money, you pay the business owner. You said about 15%, and then you pay yourself the rest of the fees, and then the money would
Right.
just go towards maintenance eventually. Because it's interesting because like any other business, you're buying inventory, but your inventory for this business is literally cash.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny to think about that like there's no
Yeah.
you're
So
cutting out a step.
I haven't pulled out a single dollar from the company. I've put everything towards buying new ATMs or just keeping money just in case of maintenance. And honestly, a lot of it is I just like you said, it goes to cash. I pull it right out,
Yeah.
put it back in the machine.
Yeah, like my gut says I would keep the price of a landed ATM in cash at all times. Just in case the worst happens, you need to buy a new one. Um,
Yeah.
so for I don't know what they say for businesses. You're supposed to have like what 3 months operating or something. I think that's a lot of money. I've never had 3 months operating in cash, but um, I would
Yeah,
probably
not
have
sure. Sounds like a lot.
yeah. I think ideally I would want to have like enough cash to replace every ATM. So like have like $2,500 per ATM set aside for maintenance and or replacement.
Mhm.
But that might also be a lot of money, but without diving into the financials, this is what my gut says. But yeah, I don't know. I guess it's like, is this the passive income, the perfect passive income vehicle that these people are looking for, that everyone's yammering for?
Absolutely not. I'll be completely honest. I don't think. I mean, it is a small business, but really, and I really don't think that anybody should think about like we just talked about it, but it's really just a different source of income that's not working for somebody else. Um, and obviously, once it gets going, you know, it'll snowball. But really, it's just I'm not making enough money to quit my job, and if you want to make money to replace your income in 1 year, you're going to set yourself up for failure because you're going to buy all these ATMs, and then if you can't grow too fast. Um, but I mean, if it is profitable, but it's nothing that I would label as the holy grail or anything like that. But hopefully in a year we can do another interview and I can tell you how it went. Question. So for your wine businesses, do you have any games or anything that requires cash, or is this literally just what you're selling?
No, you can't put an ATM in my winery. Number one. Just kidding.
I don't even know how it would work internationally.
I
But no, I was just curious because if you were thinking about it, like
no.
it always helps to have a reason.
No, we have nothing like that. And like I said, like anytime someone needs cash to like tip the band or anything, I just do cash back and I charge them this like $3 to do it on just on my register.
Yeah, makes sense.
So that's
Yeah,
saves me the equipment, cuts out a step basically, right?
yeah,
Um,
yeah. I would never put an ATM in a bar that does that.
no, no, because yeah, there's
Yeah,
no
that's
because
great.
now all of a sudden I'm just paying you 85% when I could just be taking the entire fee, right? I guess you could make the argument that it's like less effort, but like it's not that much effort to just
Yeah,
hand them
yeah,
money, right?
100%,
Yeah,
100%.
yeah. And then yeah, all my other businesses are manufacturing that don't really have customers that come into the building. So
Yeah.
yeah. um, but yeah, I think that's basically all my questions asked. I don't know if there's anything else you want to tell the world before we call it.
Um, Nothing crazy. Just say if you have an idea, obviously put in the research, and it's a lot of effort. You need to spend a lot of time before you even consider trying it. But life's too short to not try different things.
Well, I think that's decent
I mean,
advice.
that's
Yeah, it
that's
sounded
really all I
like
can say.
you did a lot more research than a lot of people do, I think, for side hustles. Like most people's research includes watching YouTube videos and that's it. And you were actually reading contracts and stuff and scouting out locations and doing that's far and away more effort than a lot of people put into this kind of stuff. So
Yeah, you have to enjoy it, or you're not going to be successful. I mean,
yeah,
really.
I think I feel the same way where I'm just like I like the hustle and like I don't make any money and it's fine because I just reinvest it all and I like to I've just never had a job and I just kind of figure it all out and that's I get a lot of satisfaction in the actual journey, not just the money. And it sounds like that's kind of you're doing it as a hobby. It's great that it makes
Yeah.
profit, but it's like you enjoy doing it, and that's I think more important than than making a lot of money.
Hey, you got you some cool t-shirts. That's all that matters.
Well, it'll be interesting. Yeah, no, I'm curious. I would love to if you keep some tabs on this because I this is something that the in quotations the passive nature of it scales really well, right? Because you go from 1 to 2 to 2 to 4 to 4 to 6 or 4 to 8 to 8 to 16, right? Like it's snowballs really well, I think. Because it's not
Yeah.
like you have to hire more employees and like whatever. It like more or less you make the capital expenditure and then you just kind of goes off and does its thing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Realistically, I don't think I would ever hire an employee. I mean,
Yeah, I guess like
have access to that much cash is just, I don't know.
yeah, well, okay, you have
Um,
100 ATMs. You got to go fill it with 9 grand each. Here's the bank card. Go do that, and then they disappear.
yeah,
Yeah, probably not a good idea. Yeah, I guess like the only thing I could think of
it
is
is.
like maintenance guy maybe, like, but like when does like a full time maintenance person become worth it? Like it's probably just get the company. The company that makes them is at scale for a reason, right?
Yeah, maybe, because it is a little weird walking into a bar with not a briefcase, but like a bag full of $3,000. Maybe you hire, he'll give you $20 to just stand behind me while I'm doing this, but
Well, I guess you could probably pay. Like I think Brinks does that, right? They like refill ATMs for you, like the armored
yeah,
car or whatever.
I'm so new.
Oh
I'm
yeah,
just
yeah. I'm just like, yeah. I'm excited to see it. Its scale. I'm excited to. It's yeah. It's just like I love. There's a lot of what I keep learning more and more is like there's so much money to be made in all these places that people don't really think about. So it's interesting to just kind of dive into another one.
yeah.
Do you want to give people? Do you want people to find you? give your give your Twitter handle.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm modern day investing on X. It's at modern day invest. If you're actually serious, I mean, I don't want to just answer floods and floods of comments. Not that I think that would happen, but if you're actually genuinely interested in, you've done the research, I would love to point in the right direction. I mean, obviously, I don't know how it would vary because obviously I'm in the US. I'm not exactly sure it would vary, but I'm sure that a lot of the advice would be the same.
Yeah, general strategy and whatnot would probably be the
Yeah.
same. Yeah.
Yeah. And just honestly, if they just said, "Hey," wanted me to look at something, and be like, "Hey, does this look weird?" or look over a contract or something, I could easily do that. But always willing to help people, man. That's how you get that good karma whenever you can.
It's important. And what's the exact address of the barbershop with the ATM so we can all go use it? Just kidding. Well, thanks
Right, it gets
for.
broken into the next day.
No kidding. They leave like a Willows told me to do it at Drunk Dividends spray painted on the wall. Um, well, thanks for coming to talk to me. If you want to hear more conversations like this is Drunk Dividends on X, Instagram, YouTube. No, you whatever. And then Vote Willows, VOTEWILLOWS on everything else. Drunk Dividends is my finance thing. Vote Willows will be everything else. If you need some wine, we can ship Canada wide. Shrug.com, SHRUGDOC.com. If you need a rubber stamp, MapleLeafRubberStamp.ca. And if you need some engraving done, CanMarkIndustries.com. Thanks for listening, everyone. I appreciate it. See you around. Buy an ATM and let me know about it.